Hello, everyone, and welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Natasha Martinez, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news in the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us this Friday is Dennis Tzeng.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of Collider Movie Talk. It feels like deja vu a little bit, doesn't it?
We got our lovely Clarke Wolfe joining us as well.
Hey, guys. Thank you so much for having me. And we have a birthday on the panel
boy,
today.
Josh Macuga.
Hey, guys. Thank you so much. I love being wished happy birthday by such lovely people.
All right, getting right into it. In an interview with Empire Magazine, Jeremy Irons, who plays Alfred the butler, turned father figure to Bruce Wayne in the upcoming Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice movie, has released some new details about his character. Irons talked about finding a different angle on Alfred, revealing that his version of the character doesn't live at Wayne Manor, but at a sleek lakeside residence, and also says this: Alfred will be more hands-on, with a special ops background being hinted at. Clarke, what do you think about Jeremy Irons' reveal about this different angle on Alfred?
Yeah, I think it makes really good sense for what we've seen so far from this DC cinematic universe. You know, when you think about it, going back to Tim Burton's, and especially what we've seen on film. So when you think about it and you go back to Tim Burton's Batman, you know, that interpretation of Alfred was much of a traditional butler. Yeah. He's your butler. And then when we move into Christopher Nolan's Batman movies, Michael Caine, not a frumpy gentleman. Michael Caine, you know, it was more of like an advisor, a mentor, kind of like that father figure that wants the best for his son and all of those things. And I think when you cast someone like Jeremy Irons, who is handsome and still sexy for a much older man, yes, I said it.
Take it easy.
He's a little cray-cray, but he's definitely handsome. So I think it makes really good sense for this interpretation of Batman. And you know, from what we've seen so far, I think that Zack Snyder's DC universe is sort of paying awareness and is respectful to the things that have come before, but I think they sort of want to separate themselves a little bit. So I think for him to be having a sleek lakeside manor right next to Bruce at all times, I think that makes good sense.
Yeah, this reminds me of the Earth 1 Batman from the comic books where Alfred was actually the head of security for Wayne Manor, and then when Thomas and Martha Wayne died, he became the legal guardian and pretended to be the butler, but really he was there to protect Bruce Wayne. He ends up teaching him martial arts, and maybe we'll get a little bit of that in this background. Maybe Jeremy Irons will be a badass and actually fight people in this one. And him mentioning the sleek lakeside residence, I think is him and Bruce are throwing wild parties on the weekends. Josh?
I want to be invited to those wild
Me
parties,
too.
100%. I think, like, I'm going to take your word. A sexy Alfred is a cool little upgrade to the Batman franchise. I mentioned Jarvis and Agent Carter. I know that's like a little bit of a stretch, but that's the first thing that kind of came to my mind recently that they're doing is having this like innocent butler kind of character also be a badass. So the subtle guy that could come in and kick some butt, but also be the confidant that Bruce Wayne needs, because you know they're going to have flashbacks in the movie of Alfred teaching him things and Bruce Wayne being like, I don't want to do this, and Alfred's like, you're going to do it. And then, you know, through like pledging, you know, through violence comes loyalty. And
is that how it is? Through violence comes loyalty? Is that another Macuga saying?
That's Josh's mantra, don't you know?
Put it out there. I'm just putting it in the ether. Yeah. But I think it's a really cool thing. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, I like that it's a different take, because now we're not going to see what we've already seen before, and we're. You know, I just hope he doesn't costume up. That would be a little silly, right? Like have him have his own whatever. Yeah. Alfred the killer butler or whatever.
It'd be kind of cool if he almost had like a Kingsman vibe to him.
Totally. That's what I was thinking actually. Yeah. You know, you see that because there is obviously if we watch Kingsman, there's no age limit on being an English badass.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, what's next?
During a press conference at the Sundance Film Festival, Colin Trevorrow, who directed last year's blockbuster Jurassic World, and who is also set to direct Episode 9 of the Star Wars franchise, announced that he planned on shooting the 2019 Star Wars movie on film. He was quoted as saying this: "There's something in my brain that says, well, they didn't have video cameras then," said Trevorrow. "It's a period film," Trevorrow joked. "It happened a long time ago." Dennis, what are your thoughts about Star Wars Episode 9 being shot on film?
I'm perfectly fine with Colin Trevorrow shooting Episode 9 on film. J.J. Abrams did it with episode 7. Rian Johnson did it with episode 8. And I believe it's a filmmaker's choice. They can choose whatever they want to do. They want to do digital. They want to do film. They should always have that option. Having said that, it has zero effect on the quality of the film. It doesn't matter. The audience can't tell the difference. I know filmmakers talk about how organic or textured it looks, and the audience doesn't care. Okay, whether you loved or hated Star Wars Episode 7, it doesn't matter if it was shot on film or digitally. Let's say JJ had shot it on film, but let's say he did it digitally. Would you have liked the movie more, or would you have liked it less? It wouldn't have made any difference whatsoever. Clarke, what do you think?
I mean, I hate to be so snarky, but I can't roll my eyes at this enough. I'm just like, dude, you've made
Give
one
us a good
movie.
eye roll, will you, Clarke?
Yeah, it's just, really? Josh knows it well. He knows that. But I really think it's like, dude, this is ridiculous. I mean, granted, though, I will say, to be fair, if Rian Johnson and Abrams are shooting on film, why shouldn't he get to shoot on film too?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. But the idea that it matters, I agree with you, Dennis. I mean, honestly, at this point, it really doesn't. And I know that there are filmmakers that swear by it. They swear that they can see the difference. The best example I can think of is I was listening to Vince Gilligan on the WTF podcast talking about, I'm a film purist. I'm a film purist.
Yeah, they shot Breaking Bad all on film.
But then I think at some point they switched to digital because what Vince Gilligan said, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but at some point Vince Gilligan said he and a cinematographer did a camera test and he's like, I know I'm going to be able to see it. I know I am. And then they sat down and he was like, I can't tell the difference.
Right.
And from then on, I think he's kind of like, so I lose this battle. But then you talk to people like, yeah. So anyway, I don't think it's necessary. And I think also it's just, strikes me as a little egotistical, I think. I'm like, you've made one movie? Granted, it was the biggest movie in the world, I guess.
Whoa.
How
I think
it's
you're
made
forgetting
two
the
movies.
2005 movie, Gary, I forget what it is. I just looked
But
on his
you're
IMDb,
forgetting
but it was a
it
No,
too.
terrible
he
movie.
did safety not guaranteed.
Okay,
Safety
so
not
you've
guaranteed.
made like 3 movies,
Yeah.
and now, just this whole thing is it just strikes of ego to me. But like I said, the other guy's got to do it. Why doesn't he? Fine.
Okay. The reason why they're doing all of this on film is budget. They have the budget. Right. They can do it on film. A lot of the reason that they've switched to these amazing digital cameras is because they can make these movies on such a smaller budget, and they can make these amazing movies that may have not been made on film back in the day. But Star Wars is like, whatever you guys want to do. You want to make it on film, fine. I know that there is very little difference, but I can't wait for a blog post from guys being like, now if you pause it at minute
Exactly.
36, you can see a small blip, and that's how you know it's on film. Like, okay, fine. But yeah, I don't think it's going to really affect the movie either way. I mean, there's still going to be 9 different versions of how we see it: full screen, widescreen, 70 millimeter. I don't know.
IMAX, all of the above. But also,
Yeah.
I mean, I would say too, just to throw out there, and I'm curious what you guys think about this. If I were directing a Star Wars movie and I had made a handful before that, and this is clearly the biggest thing. I mean, I guess Jurassic World was a lot of pressure too, but I would just be thinking about the pressure to keep on your day, to keep whatever, and I would imagine that being able to shoot digital would maybe alleviate even a little bit of that pressure.
Well, it'll alleviate your stress because you can see what you're actually shooting. People don't realize when you shoot on a film, you don't see what you're shooting. You see it later on dailies, and then you're like, oh man,
Correct.
I wish I had, Obviously, there's talented cinematographers out there, so they know,
Yeah.
and the directors trust the cinematographers to do their job. But as a director, you're kind of like, I'm hoping, I'm crossing my fingers.
That's all lighting. All those gaffers. Film is their whole gig. So the unions are probably super psyched because they're going to have to hire double the gaffers for film than they would for digital.
And then also when he talks, I know he was joking about period piece, and I understand where he's coming from with Star Wars. It's a period piece, right? But there's another period piece too, like Game of Thrones, which is shot digitally, and it looks phenomenal. It looks fantastic, and no one's complaining about that. And also, interesting story is the pilot for Game of Thrones was actually shot on film. And then they did a bunch of reshoots, and they reshot on the Arri Alexa, which is digital, and they intercut between the film and the digital, and no one
you
knew,
can't see.
no one
Yeah.
cared, and then they shot the rest of the thing on digital. So
And like he said, in this world they didn't have video cameras. Well, in this world we don't have lightsabers.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you want me to say on this one.
Yeah. There's just a bunch of other examples. I mean, we just saw The Revenant, which was shot on the RE Alexa 65, which is a digital camera, and that's a period piece as well.
Incredible.
And it looks amazing. Yeah. One of the best looking films I've ever seen. So I just don't buy that it makes a difference in terms of the quality of the film.
Agreed.
All right. Actually, we're on to buy or sell. Natasha, what do we got?
Okay. The Deadpool marketing campaign has been generally well received by both fans of the irreverent comic book character and casual movie fans alike. Viral videos have included the announcement that the movie was rated R, Deadpool hanging with kids on Halloween, and a Happy Australia Day one released last week. Now you can add a PSA for testicular cancer to the list. Ryan Reynolds tweeted out this funny video with the caption, "Something to touch yourself to. #Deadpool." Deadpool arrives in theaters on February 12th. Josh, buy or sell this newest viral video from the Deadpool marketing campaign?
First of all, that picture you guys put up is freaking amazing.
We all buy that screen.
I'm buying this more than I've ever bought any Chipotle burrito in my life. I love all of these. The lovely Wendy showed me the Australia Day one this morning. Dude, Ryan Reynolds is crushing it right now. There aren't many actors in Hollywood that could come back from the devastation of Green Lantern and also the original Deadpool in that Wolverine grease fire. Third time I've said that this morning. And these PSAs are super fun. They're super funny, but they kind of help. Like, they're nice, not a lot of guys are out there going like, oh, maybe I should check my balls in the morning, but Deadpool's telling me to. Well, let me check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I buy this big time. I love the campaign. We've talked about how great their marketing campaign is. I do think it's kind of lightning in the bottle, though. You can't recreate this for different movies. This happens to be a character and a tone that they want, and also that Ryan Reynolds is willing to go out there and push the. Most actors, they're willing to do some marketing for films, but he's willing to go that extra mile just for this one. And you're right. This is probably going to do more help for testicular cancer than like a real doctor going like, hey guys, you should check. I think more guys are actually going to do this test.
Agreed.
Clarke, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we were saying last week before we did movie talk that like Ryan Reynolds just has like his costume and a backdrop at any given time, and he's like, yeah, I'll make another one. Sure, I got why not? So yeah, I think it's great. I think it's just so funny good that these balls are hanging over my shoulder.
Right on my head.
Yeah, it's just like. It's kind of amazing, I have to say. But it's true. By the way, gentlemen, like Josh does the Movember campaign every year. I helped him this year with it, or was part of his team. And it's important. Like, I do think that women, like when I was in a sorority, our philanthropy was breast cancer education and awareness. This is like something that is built into women's lives. We talk about it. It's very targeted, and men don't talk about it enough. So if it takes Deadpool telling you what to do with your tomatoes, then why not?
Clarke Wolfe, everybody.
Tomatoes.
Love that.
His words, by the way. His words.
All right, what's next?
Last week, we saw our first trailer for a cat-focused R-rated comedy called Keanu from comedy duo Key and Peele. This week, we have a trailer for a cat-focused family movie called 9 Lives. The film stars Kevin Spacey as an uncaring billionaire businessman that gets turned into a cat named Mr. Fuzzy Pants in order to learn to love and appreciate his family. The film also stars Christopher Walken, Jennifer Gardner, Melina Weissman, and Robbie Amell. The movie is being directed by Barry Sonnenfeld and is set for release on August 5th, 2016. Clarke, buy or sell this trailer for 9 Lives?
Yeah. I'm gonna sell this one.
Really? Really?
Yeah, shock of shocks.
But look at the cat.
But look at the kitty. Well, look, here's the thing. If Kevin Spacey were in Keanu, then we'd have something there. I was not impressed by this trailer. However, I will say I like Barry Sonnenfeld a lot. I think he's a cool, quirky kind of director. So maybe this is just not a great trailer. I didn't love the trailer, but something we were talking about before we started rolling was Kevin Spacey does an incredible Christopher Walken impression. And so if he doesn't somehow slip that into this movie, I'm going to be very disappointed. But as of now, I'm sorry, all involved. This is going to be a sell for me.
Josh?
Yeah, sell. What? I mean, okay, I'm a dog person, first and foremost. I mean, sometimes when I'm dressed in my jammies, I call myself Mr. Fuzzy Pants. But this movie, I just don't understand. Like, I understand that House of Cards Season 3 wasn't the best. But Kevin Spacey is like, he's won an Oscar. I didn't Google if he won a Tony, but he's been on stage a million times. He's definitely won Emmys and Golden Globes. What is, I mean, paycheck? I'm guessing that could be the only reason that they're doing this, that it's a paycheck. But I can't imagine Kevin Spacey's agent or them signing on unless the payday was just stupid.
Well, yeah, when I saw this trailer and just even the headline and read about what it was, I was like, is this an SNL sketch?
Yeah.
Is this something that they did, a parody video? But it's not. It's a real movie. It's
like Laser Cats?
Yeah.
Laser Cat.
It's coming out in August. Apparently, it was supposed to come out in April. I don't know what they needed to do to like push it. You know, like that. Oh, we got to work on the special visual effects on this thing. I am a cat person, so I like cats. But this one doesn't. Like we talked about Keanu. We ended up watching Keanu the trailer again before we watched this one.
Yes.
So I don't know, Natasha. What did you think about this trailer?
I mean, yeah, I would have to sell it too, and I love cats. I mean, I'm more of a dog person, but I'm allergic to cats, so I have
me
this
too. I'm
like,
allergic to
I want what I can't have. But yeah, if it was more of a movie like Keanu, I think it would be brilliant. But it's just I wasn't with this trailer. But what I did find was interesting in the preview, they were like, okay, Kevin Spacey hates cats. So he's like, I hate cats. And one of the actors was like, well, then that makes it all better. So I have a question for you guys. What animal is it that you guys hate? Would you be hated to turn into that animal?
A snake.
A snake.
I'm like Indiana Jones. I do not like snakes.
I wouldn't want to be turned into a spider because people would just the first thing
Crush
is they
you,
freak
kill
out and
you.
then they kill you.
I think I'd go bee.
A bee?
I'm not a big bee. Maybe I'll go wasp. Because you guys
Oh,
took
yeah.
my two, snake and
Okay.
spider. So I'll go wasp.
I would go cockroach. 'Cause
Oh, yeah.
Same
Ugh, that's
thing.
gross, too.
No one likes
Yeah.
those, especially the hissing ones.
All right, guys. Now we're on to our weekly Friday segment, Box Office Predictions, brought to you by our friends at AMC Theatres. This is where we predict the top 5 movies of the weekend in order. We know this is Clark's favorite segment. So, Clark, let's start off.
Oh boy. All right. Well, because I just realized that I forgot Ride Along 2. And
Oh, you didn't forget it. You didn't forget it.
How could you forget?
How could I? What was I thinking? Okay, so I think that Kung Fu Panda is going to open pretty big this week. I love those movies, and I love Jack Black, and the cast is great. So I think Kung Fu Panda is going to come in at number 1. And I think that The Revenant is going to come in at number 2. Star Wars will probably still be number 3. And then I think The Finest Hours is going to be 4. And the question is, will 50 Shades or Ride Along 2 be number 5? For me, anyway, because I'm terrible at this game. So I'm going to say Ride Along 2 is going to be number 5. I don't think 50 Shades is going to debut in the top 5.
Josh?
Week. It was a very weak weekend. Not our strongest. I'm going to agree with Clark. Kung Fu Panda 1. I'm going to flip. I'm going to go Star Wars back at 2, Revenant at 3. I think people have seen the nominations, everybody right over that, and they jumped on. Then I think then Revenant 3, Finest Hours 4, and we haven't seen a Wayne Brothers movie in a long time. Something maybe nostalgic about me wants to go see 50 Shades of Black, even though it looks awful. I'll put it at 5 just for the heck of it.
All right, I'm gonna agree with you guys. Number 1, definitely Kung Fu Panda 3. I like those films. I'm not dying to see another one, but there's not much competition. Maybe that's why, because people were worried that it was going to be put in January. Like, oh, does it suck? Maybe they realized that there wasn't that much competition, so they put it out there.
And animated movies too, I don't think really that fall into that January dump time.
And
I think
pandas, I mean, they're so friggin' adorable.
Yeah.
who doesn't?
Yeah, and then 2, I think The Revenant's still going to hold over.
Okay.
And then 3, I have actually Finest Hours instead of Star Wars.
Whoa,
I think everyone has seen Star Wars. I know I've seen it multiple times, and I don't know who's out there that hasn't seen it
I
yet.
think this is one of those weekends where there's not much going on at the box office. Let's go see Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
I'm going to see
It's
Star Wars
possible.
this weekend,
Yeah.
actually.
So then I'll put Star Wars at number 4, and I like you, I'm putting 5, 50 Shades of Black. Personally, I don't have any interest in seeing it because it looks terrible.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that other people are just like, you know what?
Yeah.
Let's see a Wayans Brothers spoof movie.
So that poses an interesting question, though, because Ride Along opened pretty good,
Yeah,
right? Considering, and so Is this its second week or
Third.
third? Oh.
Yeah.
You know
so
what?
the drop off for the second one was actually pretty big.
Yeah. Can I amend my pick and
okay.
be like you guys?
Oh, Christ. Now you're making rules up in the game you don't even like,
This
Clarke.
is why I hate this. I'm sorry. Okay, so yeah, you're right. You guys are right. I'm going to go with you guys.
50 Shades of Black.
50
Okay.
Shades of Black.
Okay.
All right. Now we're on to our mailbag portion. Before that, I want to remind you guys that we're going to take live Twitter questions at the end of the show. You can tweet us at Collider Video, and Natasha will pick out a few of those. But first, let's do a mailbag.
Luke Larson writes, "Hey Collider, greetings from frigid South Dakota. Recently I watched The Ides of March and thought how amazing the casting was. George Clooney as a likable politician, Philip Seymour Hoffman as a worn-down campaign manager, Paul Giamatti as a slimy, jaded villain, Ryan Gosling as a doe-eyed, naive idealist, and Marissa Tomei as a seductive journalist. My question to you is, what do you think is the most well-cast movie of all time? Thanks for all that you do."
I don't know about all time, but I was just talking with Campia and Mark, who's one of the guys from Complex that's visiting here from New York, and the movie The Departed came up. Martin Scorsese's Departed.
yeah.
Great one.
You have Jack Nicholson, you have Leonardo DiCaprio, you have Martin Sheen, you have Matt Damon, who else? Alec Baldwin, Vera Farmiga, Ray Winston, and who's the other one? Yeah, I think that's the main cast, and it's a phenomenal cast, and everyone gave their all. It wasn't one of those, because sometimes you see a great cast and it's like a terrible movie because
like
everyone's just
Valentine's
phoning
Day,
in.
New Year's Day,
yeah.
amazing actors.
But that
awful
one,
movies.
everyone
Arbor Day.
put it in. Clarke, what are some for you?
Yeah, I had a couple, something actually, the first one that sprung to mind was Love Actually.
Okay.
I think that's a great cast of
Ooh, yeah.
lots of good talent. And then, I was thinking back to the 90s, Scream had an incredible young cast. Same with Can't Hardly Wait.
Ooh, yeah,
I
good
love
one.
that movie. And that
Yes.
cast is pretty stacked. More recently, I was thinking about This Is the End. That's pretty great
Oh, yeah, that is
cast,
really good.
considering.
Yeah.
And I also just love that movie. Anchorman, I love all of the cameos that popped up in Anchorman. But then I was thinking, there's a movie that George Miller directed called The Witches of Eastwick. And that cast was Jack Nicholson, Cher, Michelle Pfeiffer, Susan Sarandon. It's an incredible cast. And of course, George Miller behind the camera. Great movie. And then for my ladies out there, Steel Magnolias. Steel Magnolias has an incredible cast. Lots of Oscar winners in it. And also, it's just, I love that movie.
In the same female kind of way, Mystic Pizza.
Mystic Pizza,
Really well
definitely.
cast. I just thought of it. We were talking before, movies like The Big Chill, but I'm gonna go Wet Hot American Summer.
That's on my
Is
list.
it?
That's
Yes.
on mine.
Wet Hot American Summer, some of the greatest comedic minds. It's Bradley Cooper's first movie ever out of the Actors Studio. Right after he got cast right in that, it's David Wayne's first directorial thing. Amy Poehler, Michael Showalter, Michael Ian Black. The cat Paul Rudd is incredible in that movie, and it is one of the most criminally underrated movies for the people that haven't seen it. Go watch. Forget the movies that are in the box office this weekend. Go watch Wet Hot American Summer.
Christopher Maloney, that was the first time I
Yeah.
saw Christopher Maloney. And so when I realized that he was like a serious actor on Law and Order, I was like, Gene? What? And for those of you guys watching, you'll hopefully know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Oh my God.
But yeah, that was on my list too.
Natasha-
Fish Called Wanda was there too.
Oh yeah, I
Sorry.
love Fish Called Wanda.
Yeah.
Natasha, are there any movies that you can think of that have a great cast that you love? Or maybe a cast that was really good that ended
yeah.
up sucking.
The movie
I
was
can't think
brutal.
of any on the top of my head at the moment, but
We mentioned Ocean's 11, which
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought was a good one.
And that movie, what was it called? Movie 42?
Oh yeah, that had a great
that
cast.
has the best cast maybe in the history, for this time period, and it was considered one of the worst movies ever.
I couldn't even get through it. I watched about 10 or 15 minutes
It's
of
tough.
it, and
Yeah.
it was like Terrence Howard. Who
Oh, it was
else?
ridiculous.
Then
Hugh
Naomi
Jackman.
Watts,
yeah, Naomi Watts.
I mean,
yeah.
it was crazy.
Weird.
Chris Pratt, his wife. That was
Yeah.
crazy. All right,
Yeah.
what's next?
Jonathan Holt writes, "Hey Collider crew, my love for the Star Wars franchise is undying, and with the release of Episode 7, it continues to grow. I've now seen the movie 6 times, and with every repeat viewing, I enjoy the film more and more. So my question to you is, other than Star Wars, what movies have you seen that continue to get better every time you see them?" I'm guessing John will say Man of Steel. Thanks for all the work you guys do, and continue to wallow in all that filthy.
Josh, what's a movie that gets better with age every time you see it?
Well, I mean, obviously people are going to know my guilty movie pleasure is Bad Boys 2, Airborne. I love Airborne's classic. I love 80s action movies, 80s, early 90s action movies. Die Hard never gets old. I feel like it gets better every time you watch it. I love the movie Predator, obviously one of the best action movies of all time. But I think rewatchability factor, Goodfellas to me, I could watch anytime, all the time. I get new lines. You catch acting nuances that you maybe not have caught before, and it's such a. I listened to Ray Liotta being interviewed yesterday on Colin Cowherd, and he was talking about how it didn't do well in the box office, but year after year it becomes more and more of a cult classic. Another really well cast movie, Goodfellas. I could watch that anytime, anywhere. It gets better.
Well, speaking of Goodfellas, that's actually my favorite movie of all time, and it is one of those ones that gets better through time. And my story with that is, when I first watched it, I liked the movie, but I don't think at that time I could like comprehend and soak in everything about that movie. So I liked it. And then I was like, okay, I need to watch it again. And every time I kept watching it over and over and over again, I was like, man. And then it eventually became my favorite. It wasn't like I watched it and was like, oh, this is my favorite movie ever. Yeah. I just, every time I saw it, it's like, oh, wow, there's so much more every time I see it.
And every time you watch it, you don't want him to get caught.
Oh,
you want Henry Hill to survive.
That, and every time, let's say they show like, no matter where it is on TV, like they're like in the middle of the movie, at the end of the movie, at the beginning. If I see it, I have to watch it all the way to the end. It's very, very dangerous. Clarke?
There are two that are standout examples for me. The first one is There Will Be Blood. The first time I saw There Will Be Blood, I was not into it. I found it to be a little boring, and I've talked to a couple of people who are like, yeah, not my favorite. That being said, I watched it again, and I was like, whoa. And every time I watch that movie, it gets better and better and better for me. I think it's like you were saying, you pick up acting nuances, you pick up little symbols, little signals that you didn't see before. And to me, There Will Be Blood. And I'm not even a huge Paul Thomas Anderson fan, but that movie is an American classic to me. The other one is Rosemary's Baby. So when I first saw Rosemary's Baby, I think I was in like college, maybe I was 19, and you know, it's on those lists, right? You have to make your way through all these lists, and this is on there. And I was like, yeah, I don't really get this one, no. And then a couple of years later, I got a little older, I watched it again, and I was like, oh, okay, I can relate to her a little bit more. I understand how horrifying what the people around her are doing. And the last time I saw it, I ended up crying in the end. Like, it emotionally upset me so much to find out what her husband had done to her and all of these things. So I think, and maybe that's a female perspective as well, I don't know. But the older I get as a woman, that is freaking terrifying.
Both of your choices emotionally upset me as a person. I can't watch either of those movies again. They're really
upsetting. Yeah, but they're great.
I love There Will Be Blood. So.
How dare you? The other one I had is Citizen Kane, and not to be like I'm cool, I watch Citizen Kane, but that's a great movie, and it gets better every time I see it.
All right, what's next?
Rob White writes, my beloved Collider Movie Talk. I have a question about the different responsibilities of producers and directors. From what I understand, the director of a movie really is the person whose job it is to turn a script into a piece of art. He hires and directs the actors, he coordinates the crews, he works with the composer and the editor in post-production. His vision, or lack thereof, is ultimately what determines whether a movie is good or bad. And yet, when the Academy Awards give out the trophies for Best Picture, it's the producers who go up and take the credit. So my question is, what is it that the producers actually do? Why do they get the Best Picture trophies? Aren't they really just the guys who handle the financial aspects of making a film? Martin Scorsese is an artist. Harvey Weinstein isn't really an artist, is he? And while I'm asking, what is an executive producer? I love your show. It's really the only thing besides college football that I watch religiously. Keep up the great work.
I feel like we could take this in like the Office Space route and be like, what is it that you do here? Because a lot of times you'll see a movie and there'll be like 4 credit pages of producers, executive producers, associate producers, and stuff like that. A lot of times associate producers, because I have friends that do this, are like assistants to the director or producer, and they've been the assistant like 4 or 5 movies, and finally they just get up to associate producer, and their job really doesn't change that much. Producers, why they get the awards on the thing is because they got all the money together in order to get that director to direct the script. And without the money, those movies really don't get made. And I think executive producer is more just like the studio head that greenlit the movie, correct?
Well, yeah, or the money person.
Yeah.
The executive producer is definitely one of those titles where if you have enough money, you can get exec producer credit on almost anything. Yeah, we were talking about this before the show, and producers can do nothing or they can do everything. It really, I do think producers are very, very important when it comes to filmmaking. I think they're the partner with the director if you get a good one, and they handle not just finances but also logistics, and and they also can be involved with the casting process and a lot of important things. They aren't artists, but they have a huge influence over movies, especially if they are a producer that is well known and influential.
Watch what's the movie with Kid Stays in the Picture? That's a great movie if you want to see like what a producer did kind of back in the day, like 70s, 80s. I'm not sure how much it's changed per se, but that documentary really does a good job of showing what.
And also keep in mind, somebody has to hire the director.
Yeah.
So, while yes, the director pitches their creative vision, the director maybe suggests casting or has worked with talent before or whatever the case may be, somebody basically has to get that project and it doesn't always work like this, by the way. Some directors that, find material for themselves, but, somebody has to have the overall creative vision of whatever the project is and assemble the right team, and you have to hire a director. Jason Blum is a really cool example of a producer. If you're interested in what producers do today, he's somebody that's doing it differently than studios and big mainstream things, but he's found great success. And Jason is one of those guys who, his whole mantra is the idea that he finds innovative, weird, offbeat things, whether it's already been created or a talent who's come to him and pitched him a story and says, okay, go do your thing. I'm going to oversee. I'll help you, whatever. So, and give them creative freedom, but then also, when it comes time to market the movie, when it comes time to sell the film to a distribution or to a studio or something like that. So the answer is, I was telling the guys before we started shooting, I have a book called What a Producer Does. And the answer is, like you were saying, everything. It's a whole book, and it's a whole book of saying basically nothing.
Again, what is it that you do here?
No, I mean, some producer credits you get just because you happen to either own a property that gets licensed, or you happen to be the person that just obtained that and let the studio use it. You could have nothing to do with the movie other than that, and you'll get a producer's credit.
There's two guys, and you guys in the comments will probably know, they optioned the film rights to Batman, the comic book, back in way back when, and they've had those rights ever since. So every time a Batman movie is made, their name is a producer on the film. They don't do anything, they just own the rights.
And at the end of the day, it's basically a line item. Like, we got to pay this producer this much. We can't just give them all random titles, and you're right. It's that once you're like a producer on something, you're a producer forever.
Okay, and then speaking of the Oscars, I kind of have my own take on it. Okay, I have no problem with the producers when the Oscar Best Picture goes up and they go up and get the Oscar. I do feel that they should have a mandatory slot for the director. So in the past few years, we had two movies, Argo and 12 Years a Slave, where they both won Best Picture, but the directors, both Ben Affleck and Steve McQueen, did not win Best Director. But those two actually got to go up there because they were listed as producers for those movies, but that's not always the case. Directors not always producers on their film. I feel like if you win Best Picture, obviously producers get it, but they should have a slot where the director automatically gets an Oscar.
But so not to play devil's advocate, but to add to that, that's a slippery slope, because then if I'm the screenwriter, I'm going, well, I wrote this thing. This thing wouldn't even exist without me. This is my story, my concept, my words. Why don't I get to be on there?
I mean, definitely that could be made a case, but for me, I think people will understand that the director is the creative vision. He's the one controlling the ship, and he's the reason why the movie's either good or bad. I mean, it's like a coach on an NFL team, right? Like if the team does bad, he gets all the blame.
It's not the players.
If he wins, he gets all the credit. So I feel like the director is kind of like that.
And at the end of the day, there's a reason why directors go through 3 and 4 marriages, because the job is so hard. You're working 20-hour days because you have to do everything on the film. Same as an NFL coach. The interview with Jimmy Johnson on the NFL Network, he went through 2 wives and he never saw any of his kids play any sports, because you are in an NFL stadium for 8 months of the year if your team is good. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare of a job.
All right, guys, that's it for Mailbag. Now we're on to live Twitter questions. You can tweet us at Collider Video. Natasha, what do we got up?
Jason Mallet asks, if you could live in any movie universe, what would it be?
Oh,
Labyrinth.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
Duh.
Yeah, David Bowie and the.
I would live in that labyrinth every day, y'all.
I don't know. It's kind of scary.
No, it's not. It's awesome. You're just scaredy cat.
Kind of scary.
I'm trying to think of something happy and cool, and I don't know.
I would be a witch. I'd be living in a universe where I could be a witch and I could be like, psh, or a superhero.
Okay, so I'll take yours. I live in Harry Potter world.
Oh, good
That's
choice.
a great world.
I'd be a graduate of Hogwarts, obviously Hufflepuff, because that's the most underrated house of all time. And have a nice wand, maybe invent a spell here or there.
Yeah, it's hard for me to think because a lot of the movies that I like are like, more darker or grittier type of things. It's like, I don't want to live there. You know what I mean? That's like always like they're talking about like, would you rather live in Metropolis or Gotham? I'm like, I'm living in Metropolis, even though I like Batman better. I don't want to live in Gotham.
Gotham looks awful.
It's dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay, Isaac Oboima writes, could we see Spider-Man break the fourth wall in his new movie, considering it's a John Hughes-inspired movie?
I don't think so. I mean, it's fine for Deadpool to
just
do
gonna
it,
say.
but Spider-Man, no. And especially it's part of the Marvel universe. I just don't see it happening.
I think when he was walking down the street in Spider-Man 3, that was as close to breaking fourth wall as we're ever going to get, and I don't ever want to see that again.
Yeah.
Was that like before or after his emo dance?
The emo
That
dance.
is the
That
emo
is the emo
dance.
dance.
No, but he did like at the bar, didn't he? At
Oh,
first?
yeah. Ugh.
I don't care. I'm so burned out on Spider-Man. I just don't care. Sorry.
Nerdy Geek asks, what does Bring On the Filthy Stuff mean?
You're gonna have to ask John about that. That happened, I think, during one of his Mailbag episodes. It had something to do with 50 Shades of Grey. Something about it being R and NC-17 or something. And he mentioned Bring On the Filthy. So you have to tweet at him.
Cosgrove asks, who do you guys think is a very good actor but is always starring in mediocre movies?
Ryan Reynolds. I mean, I think he's great, and
He's never really got a turn in like a really great.
I thought he was great in that movie Buried.
that
he's
was really
good in that. But I'm not hating on like Van Wilder or anything like that. I like when he does comedy. I like Just Friends.
I like
those
Van
things.
Wilder.
Me
Me
too.
too.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I think that in terms of the rest of his selection, like where his career has gone, it's crazy. I think he should be a huge bigger movie star than he is. But I think the movies that he does are not always the best.
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Two of the best actors ever in film history have done a lot of mediocre movies. Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. Yeah. They done some, and they done mediocre and terrible movies together. They were just like, I think, and I always explain it this way. I think, especially at the height of Robert De Niro and Al Pacino's career, I mean, in terms of like acting wise and career wise, in critics wise, everyone loved them, but they weren't getting paid money. You know what I mean? Like De Niro in Raging Bull wasn't getting big bucks, or Taxi Driver, And later on, they became much bigger household names, and I think they just started to cash in on that.
Yeah, and Pacino, by the way, is a theater actor, by training, and I think primarily, and so I think it makes sense that he never. I mean, obviously, he's made some incredible movies, but I think he's made more bad movies, the movies that he has done, and I think it's because he never quite gelled.
I think Tina Fey and Amy Poehler have done amazing television work and such average movies. Like they're great at hosting the Golden Globes, but they're like Sisters wasn't very good. Tina Fey's like that Admission movie wasn't very good, and I think what was that movie where Baby Mama? I thought that was funny.
I like Baby Mama.
I think that was probably their best movie, but other than that, they've both done really average movies.
Yeah, and you know what? Speaking on that, Tina Fey was I admire her in many ways, but she was terribly miscast in that movie with Jason Bateman, the family
the
movie.
Things Come Together.
Yeah, or
like
whatever
All Things
it was.
Considered.
This is where I leave.
This
you.
is where I leave you.
Which I didn't care for that movie.
Well, the character was like this vapid kind of like ditzy, and I was like, what? How? So yeah.
There was one good Tina Fey movie, but she wasn't the main character. Mean Girls.
Oh yeah, she's great.
Because she wrote it and she.
And I want to see her new movie, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
Actually looks pretty good.
I'm very curious.
It looks
about
like
that.
the Michael Keaton movie. It was an HBO movie with Helena Bonham Carter.
Oh yeah,
during
Live from Baghdad.
Live from Baghdad.
Yep.
Looks just a lot like that. Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Todd McGorry asks, favorite female badass? Mine are Ellen Ripley in Aliens and Uma Thurman in Kill Bill.
Those are good ones.
Yeah, both of those plus Sarah Connor in Terminator 2.
Ooh, yeah, Terminator
Linda
2.
Hamilton. I mean, she's so badass in that.
Oh man.
I'm gonna. It's a very small role, but I thought that she was badass, and I that's one of the reasons I did not like that movie was Rachel McAdams in Southpaw. I thought that was like such an exit from everything she's always done. She was this like trashy kind of Hell's Kitchen girl. There's like a really powerful sex scene. She's the mind behind the boxer. I think that movie could have been so much better had she. I know, spoiler alert, not died.
They showed it in the trailer. In the trailer.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of just to add to what you guys have already said, Emily Blunt in Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh yeah, she was
Love
great.
her.
And Emily Blunt and Sicario.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet, but I think Emily Blunt is a badass. And by the way, I know this is TV, but the woman who plays Michonne on The Walking Dead.
Oh yeah, she's
I
awesome.
love her.
Yeah.
I just, even though I don't love her.
Brienne of Tarth on Game of Thrones.
Oh
Yes.
yes, that's a great one.
That's why I was so disappointed about Captain Phasma in Star Wars.
Yeah.
I was like, you did nothing.
Yeah, very
absolutely
underutilized.
nothing.
She had a shiny helmet.
And
Yeah.
Ray
Ray was badass.
Ray's
Yeah,
a badass.
Ray is a badass.
I can't believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Nerdy Nick asks, since Clarke is here today, do you think we'll ever get another great original horror franchise? Too many modern ones are bad.
Yes, I do think that we will get another great original horror franchise. I think. I don't know if I've mentioned it on this show or not, but there's a movie coming out that James Wan produced that's based on a short. It's called Lights Out. It's coming from Warner Brothers this summer. It is a ultra low budget film. However, I have been hearing that the test screenings have been through the roof, so much that they gave it a mid-July opening day. So that's crazy, an opening release date for a movie with basically no stars. And James didn't direct it; he produced it. But you can watch the short online; it's pretty spooky. So I think there are. And as I've said on Movie Talk before, I think there's great horror. I just think a lot of it's on television right now because the creators are being given real space to do things. I also think, by the way, and they're not taking it in the direction that I would have taken it, but I think The Purge could have been almost
Smart
It was a
idea.
great concept.
Great concept.
well, and I actually am in the minority. I really like the first one. I know that it's not perfect, but it feels like a Twilight Zone episode to me in a lot of ways. And I would have loved it if the Purge franchise had done basically like an anthology. So you see a Purge night in different parts of the country every time. Like I would love to see a small town, farm town Purge night. Then you get the LA Purge night that we got in the Purge Anarchy and things like that. So I do think that there's potential, and I do think that there can be great. But the idea of like a killer like Freddy or Jason, I don't know if we'll see another one of those because this taste is so different now.
Well, they're making a Purge 3. I don't know. I didn't see the second one, but I didn't care for the first one. And it had a great concept to it. But the best thing about the Purge is that it inspired the Purge episode of Rick and Morty. If you guys have ever seen that episode, it's one of the funniest things. I die laughing every time I see it. It's hilarious. Check it out. I know horror isn't my genre. I know it's not your. We're the two scaredy cats.
Like,
on
it's
this.
a James Wan indie kind of based off a short story. I was like, nope, I'm out. That sounds like I didn't even know what it's about. You're like, the trailer was spooky.
You know what was really spooky and I'm actually interested in seeing, even though I think it's going to freak the hell out of me? That trailer for The Witch.
Oh, I've seen The Witch. I've seen it twice.
Is it hilarious? Or not hilarious?
Yeah, it's
Is it-
hysterical, Dennis. It's the next Wet Hot American Summer.
Is it
Nothing is funnier
Yes.
than puritanical witches and demons.
is it scary?
It is scary. But I warn you, it is a true period film. This is a drama. This is a drama that takes place in the founding of, in the Puritan founding of America, but it's tension. It's filled with tension. It's dark. It is unflinching. But it's a real drama.
But
So
is it hilarious?
and it is effing hilarious.
I would love to see that
y'all.
DVD like The Witch, Clarke Wolfe.
Hilarious.
All right, what's next?
Robert asks, what do you think about Jane's Got a Gun? It comes out today and you barely talked about it.
I actually liked all the trailers that we've seen so far. I like Westerns, but the fact that it's being released in limited theaters and kind of with very little fanfare, no commercials or marketing, tells me that they don't really believe in this movie, and that scares me.
Yeah, I don't. I liked the trailers. I thought they looked fun. I think it's one of those movies that if I'm kind of bored and it's at like a Lemley 5 or something, I'll go see it, but I'll probably just wait for a DVD.
I just read a great article, I think it was in The Hollywood Reporter, but I'm not entirely sure, about the troubled production of this film, and it was interesting. But you know what Harvey Weinstein said, and I think he's right, is that regular, people who are not in the entertainment industry don't know about troubled productions, and they don't really care. No. At the end of the day, it's Joel Edgerton, Natalie Portman, and Ewan McGregor in a Western. Do you want to see it or not? And also, Westerns, I think, are a tough sell.
They are.
We see these limited releases.
Quentin Tarantino seems like the only guy that can get them released.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we've seen like in the last year, we've seen a lot of indie Westerns, and they've taken this route too. So I actually don't think that it's not such a it's a condemnation of the film. I think it's just like, well, we got to get this out there at some point.
Okay. What's next?
Emu asks, which franchise just needs to die?
Oh, I know a lot of people hate me for. Actually, I don't need it to die. I just need it to die and then get reborn. The Transformers franchise.
Yeah.
Like I love Transformers when I was a kid. I love the animated movie. I hate these live action ones, and I think they need to die so they can be reborn again. But they're not going to die because they make billions of dollars at the box office. So no studio is going to go, well, I think we should stop doing these. They're going to do them over and over.
I'm gonna maybe piggyback off Clarke and just say Spider-Man. I would like to see him.
How dare you?
If Spider-Man's like in one of those big ensemble movies like in Avengers, but in the Spider-Man world, great. But I don't want to see another Spider-Man movie.
I am so with you. Yeah. I'm so burned out on Spider-Man. I just am. Sorry.
I think you could go Paranormal Activity as well.
Paranormal is gone. It's over, and they've really mucked that one up too.
Well, they milked it. It went farther than I thought. I was like, okay, they made one movie. I liked the first one, and then they made another, and then another. How many are there? 6? 7?
6, including the spinoff. But if
there's a spinoff.
Yeah, the marked one's The marked one's actually really good. If I may take 10 seconds and just say where they really messed up is in those first 3 movies. Yeah, I know he's doing the countdown. In those first 3 movies, they really established a mythology for this franchise with this family, and they really screwed up by not seeing that through.
Nailed it. Clarke Wolfe, 10 on that dot.
And they had a magic camera in the last one or something like that. It was like a magical camera.
It was.
Take that to my Harry Potter world.
Yeah. I can't even get into it. That's a whole nother. Give me a Collider movie talk special about paranormal.
You need more
franchise.
than 10 seconds.
Yeah. All right, let's do one more.
All right, Jack Bauer Scowl writes, did I miss a memo? Josh Macuga is Sans furry lip pet and Clarke Wolfe is Sans sexy glasses. What's with the world today?
Oh, man. I've had a
Bizarro
mustache
world.
since November, and I shaved the beard 2 days ago. God, guys, leave my face alone.
And my face says that my face went to the gym and can't work out with my glasses because if they slide off my nose, I can't see what's going on. So I had to wear my contacts today.
We almost didn't recognize you,
Yeah,
Clarke.
no.
Like you came in the studio and we're like, who are you?
It's just me, guys.
Supergirl.
It's Supergirl, exactly.
All right, guys, that's it for today's episode. I want to thank all the people joining us at the table today. Clarke, where can people find you?
Thank you so much for having me, Dennis. You guys can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Periscope at Clarke Wolfe, Clarke with an E, Wolf with an E, and on youtube.com/official Clarke Wolfe.
And the birthday boy himself, Josh,
thanks,
where
man.
can people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Josh Macuga, and here on Collider doing Walking Dead, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and the Arrow After Show, and my YouTube channel, Between the Sheets TV.
Can I remind them about Supergirl real fast? We do a Supergirl show. It's on Mondays. We're back. We had some weird technical glitches and holidays and things like that, but we're back, and this season's great, so please watch it.
And Natasha, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Instagram at Natasha A. Martinez and on Twitter at NatashaLexis_.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, on Instagram, Dennis.tzeng. And don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Collider videos. And we'll see you guys next week.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.